Your parents just laced into you about your life choices, what you are or are not doing, and they've made you feel bad and have guilt tripped you, and now you're feeling dysregulated and upset, or maybe you're feeling numb and withdrawn. This video will help you to understand what to do when we're in these situations. Before we jump into what to do when our parents take us on a guilt trip, I just wanted to talk a little bit about false guilt. False guilt is feeling guilty about something that we can't control or we don't rightfully need to feel guilty about. So, for instance, let's say that your parent is guilt tripping you about not being around a lot. But in reality, you're at school, you have your own family, you're at work, and you just don't have a lot of time. That is what's known as false guilt. They're trying to guilt you into changing your behaviors. But unfortunately, you don't have a lot of control over the external environment that you're in right now. They may say things like, "We've done so much for you. I can't believe you don't spend time with us. I wish we never had given you," insert the blank, blah, 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 blah. And again, I just want to remind everyone here watching this video that your parents voluntarily did these things for you. No one forced them to do them. They did them out of the kindness of their heart, which was their own choice. You, as a child being brought into this world, did not choose to be born to this family, nor did you require them to give you all of these things. Please don't let their choices own you and your behaviors. Before we get into today's content, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Cassandra Mullick. I am a registered clinical therapist and a certified wellness coach. This channel is all about healing and recovering from different relationships, be it parent-child, romantic, or even the relationship with ourselves. So thank you for being here. I also made another video about parental guilt trips, which talks about why they occur and how to deal with them. I'll link it in the description. Feel free to check it out. How do we manage the guilt that we feel after one of these parental guilt trips? Let's pick it up from the beginning. Your parents have just laced into you. You feel bad mentally, physically, emotionally. You have feelings of guilt, shame, and sadness, and you're just not feeling good. What do we do? Tip number 1 is we need to start to regulate our emotions. What does this mean? We need to do something that helps us bring our frontal cortex back online, because when we're stressed, our brain starts to shut down and we go into either a fight, flight, or freeze state. If we're in one of these states, then we are not going to be feeling well and our nervous system is going to be out of whack. We may feel anxious, we may feel upset, we may feel angry, we might feel numb, lethargic. There's lots of things. I go into more detail in the video linked in the description, or for the purposes of this video, we need to start regulating our emotions. Some simple regulation strategies are going outside for a walk, journaling, talking to a friend, going and taking a cold shower or washing your face with cold water, taking a warm shower, going to exercise, doing something kind for yourself, playing with your children or pets, anything that will get you out of this dysregulated state we want to do right away. If you need some support and guidance around emotional regulation strategies, I highly encourage you to seek out a therapist. One platform I'm familiar with is BetterHelp. I'm not associated with them or sponsored by them, but I've heard good things about their program. Once we're regulated, we've done our breathing exercises, we've done those simple strategies for regulation, we're starting to feel better, we're going to start to externalize some of the things that have been said to us. I want you to grab a piece of paper and I want you to draw 2 circles on the piece of paper. In the first circle, we're going to write about the things that we can control. And in the second circle, we're going to write about the things that we cannot control. Feel free to pause the video here as you complete this exercise. Once you've completed the exercise, what you'll notice is that in the circle of the things that you can control, it becomes really apparent that you can only control yourself. You can't control what other people do or what they say, but we can learn how to manage our own behaviors. Tip number 3. Now that we already have a pencil and paper out, we're going to draw a line and make 2 columns. What was said about me and what evidence do I have that this statement is true? Here we're going to do some fact checking. Is the guilt that I'm feeling warranted? Should I be feeling this guilt? Or is it false guilt? Are the things that are being said about me true? And if so, what is the evidence that I have that that is true? For instance, if my parent is saying, "You're never there for me and I don't feel like you love me," what evidence are we aware of to back up that statement? Are you ignoring your parents? Are you not talking to them? If so, maybe that statement then is warranted. But if it is not those things, then it's an unwarranted statement where we shouldn't feel guilty because that is known as false guilt. I spoke about this in my other video, but I'll talk about it here as well, is that many times when people are guilt tripping us or being critical of us, they want us to feel how they feel. So maybe internally your parent is feeling unloved or uncared for. And just so you know, it's not your responsibility to make them feel loved and cared for. It is up to them to manage their own behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. So perhaps when they say these things to you, they want you to feel how they feel, which is unloved and uncared for. That's just one example that I want you to reflect on and think about. The question to always come back to when we're thinking about guilt and shedding the guilt is what is being said about me true? Do I have the evidence to back up that statement? And if I don't, it is false guilt. There are 2 other tips that I want to give you today. The next tip is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is just as it sounds. It is a concept from dialectical behavioral therapy where we radically accept what's happening. We don't necessarily have to put feelings towards it. We just acknowledge it as being present. So, for instance, if we take an objective stance for what's happening with the guilt trip, we can frame it as, my parent is upset with me because there is a need that they have that they feel is not being met, and they think that it is my job to meet it. That is radically accepting the circumstance. Versus, my parent is upset with me, now I feel guilt and shame, now I feel awful, I don't know why they had me, I don't know why I was born, I don't know why I have to be responsible for them problems. And what we do is we spiral here. So when we practice radical acceptance, we're just taking things as they are, as they come. When we do this, it helps us to alleviate those feelings and emotions that make us feel bad, like guilt and shame. This is a practice. It takes time to develop this skill, but it is doable. The last tip I want to talk about is a strategy that I often use with my clients to say, if your best friend was experiencing this, feelings of guilt and shame or a guilt trip, what would you tell them? And I want you to pause and reflect on that for a moment. Usually, we are kind to the people that we care about and we love. And we would say kind things like, it's not your fault. It's not up to you to make them feel happy. You don't have to do these things for them. Take care of yourself. Practice self-care. But in reality, what we tend to do when we're talking to ourselves is be quite critical of ourselves and really engage in that negative self-talk. I say it and other people say it. It's always easier to be kind to others than it is to ourselves. And a part of the way we erase guilt and shame is to practice kindness to ourselves. So I encourage you to use that tool whenever you're in a situation like this. What would I tell my best friend if they were in this situation? What would I tell my child if they were in this situation? And use that advice on yourself. I do have another video, as I mentioned before, about managing parental guilt trips, which I'll link in the description, which has other strategies you can try as well. Let me know in the comments if you have additional questions about this subject, and I'm happy to produce some videos about your questions. Take care